stars, welcome back to the channel. This is Gwendolyn, or if it's your first time here, welcome. This video is going to be about the full moon lunar eclipse that is happening in Pisces on September 16th. So I'm going to give a little overview of what the lunar eclipse and full moon means for everyone, and then go through each sign and talk about what it means for each sign. So in general, full moons are times where we complete things, where things are illuminated, where we can let go of things, where things come to culmination, where they come to fruition, come to conclusion, and when things, like I said, get illuminated or we get enlightenment in certain areas, the light shines on things in that area during the time of the full moon. With a lunar eclipse, it's a little bit special because it provides illumination to the shadow aspect, or what we're lacking, what is missing, what is not in our consciousness, what is unconscious or subconscious, or tapes that are playing in the background, information that's not usually seen, areas of emptiness instead of fullness, and it shines a light on that. So with lunar eclipses, it focuses on emotional energy. That's what moon energy is, and it focuses on relationship, the axis, because lunar eclipses only happen when the sun, the earth, and the moon are all in syzygy. That means the sun is on one side, the earth is in the middle, and the moon is on the other side. So the earth is blocking out all of the sun's energy, sun being over here in Virgo. The sun is shining over, and because the earth is in front, exactly in front of where the moon is in the sky, we only see the shadow of the light bending around the earth and illuminating the moon. That's why it appears in eclipse. It appears the light is bent, and therefore it's seen in shadow. So it's a special way of seeing what is not direct, what is kind of around the corners, around the edges in our subconscious. What's missing is what can be illuminated. So, and sometimes lunar eclipses, because they are emotionally based, that's moon energy, they can sometimes bring things to a culmination, like we'll no longer feel a certain way, or someone gets eclipsed out of our life, or a relationship ends. Generally, full moons are a time when the relationship, because it's emotionally based, it's either shown to be broken, or it intensifies, or it finally comes to light. Sometimes there can be like proclamations of love during a lunar eclipse, or that a relationship that already exists intensifies, or a relationship that has come to its culmination dissolves, it gets eclipsed out. So either way, it can be a kind of apex, a time of intensity, a time of things lining up. So with a full moon lunar eclipse happening in Pisces, you may want to look at what areas, especially in relationships, what's missing, what's in shadow, what has been hidden, what is coming to light, what is coming to conclusion, what is coming to fruition, what is being illuminated, what the spotlight is shining on. And it can be a time of letting things go, or it can be a time of having things arrive. It's sort of like when you have something that's begun, it finishes, or it finally gets there. So all of those things, if you look back to March of 2015, that's when this series of Virgo Pisces axis eclipses started. This is the second to last eclipse that's happening in that series. So this is sort of a finishing up energy. With all the portals that we've been passing through in the past few weeks, with the new moon solar eclipse on September 1st, and then one of the final squares of Neptune square Saturn, and then on the 999 day, September 9th in a 9-year, that's a real day of closure. And then finally this lunar eclipse, full moon in Pisces, all amidst this Mercury retro, which is telling us to slow down and pay attention. You may have gotten some revelations, you may have gotten some information that came to light, and this is a really strong, potent time for that to come to light, especially regarding emotions and relationship. It's also a time where there's a real focus on the spiritual world versus the mundane world. Practical, day-to-day routines versus your spiritual life. So the question arises when this comes up is, are those at odds? Are those in opposition? Or are they in union? Are they in unison? Are they opposites? Can either be polarized forces that oppose one another and fight things out, or they can be unified, a unified front where, you know, opposites attract, they're complementary, they form this axis of, you know, your day-to-day routines are in unison with your spiritual world. That's when you get balance, that's when you get order, that's when you get integration. So it can be a time to evaluate how do your day-to-day tasks, all of your, you know, things that have to do with health, with routine, with schedules, with practicalities, tie in, complement, or oppose your spiritual world, your world of the ideal, of higher unification, community, the divine. So that's a question to ask. And also it kind of brings up the same themes as the square of Neptune, which is Pisces ruler, and Saturn, which has been in Sagittarius. So Saturn versus Pisces, that's September 10th. That's really forcing order, boundaries, structure, rigidity, again, practicalities, versus this idealized, illuminated, spiritual, dissolving sort of energy. That's been a real challenge and square. And then this is bringing it up too. It's asking, how have you integrated that? How have you worked it out? Have you managed to synthesize it? So it's going from the square of Saturn with Neptune, Pisces ruler, to now we have the moon, which is more emotionally based, squaring off against the sun in Virgo. So it's asking the question, how have you integrated, or has it been integrated, or is it still in opposition? Are there problems? Is there shadow stuff? Where are the problems, or where are the corrections needing to be made in terms of your day-to-day life versus your spiritual life, your mystical versus what's happening down here on Earth? So that's another theme of the Virgo Pisces axis. So I'm going to go through each. I'm going to say one more thing about the full moon in Pisces. It's happening in 24 degrees Pisces, so 20 minutes. And so the Sabian symbol, we always round up one for it, round up to the next degree, is 25 Pisces, which is the purging of the priesthood. So it means, you know, being able to like cleanse away all the selfish, mundane stuff in order to reveal a greater spiritual practice. It means having a greater approach to things that are regarding spiritual service. It means having like a soul reformation. So it means cleansing away any dirt or any dross, any things that trap us, or, you know, kind of that we get caught up on, what Pema Chodron might call the hooks, anything that we get hooked on. It can really illuminate that at this time so that it can help us clear it away. Like there might be people who say, oh my gosh, I have a problem with gambling, or I have procrastination as my issue, or I'm missing this in my life, I'm missing schedule or order, whatever it is that Virgo wants to show you in terms of practical, realistic, hardline stuff that is blocking your illumination of spiritual development, of connection to the divine, of your idealized self, it's sort of like saying it's time to clean house. So I'm going to go through each sign and talk about what this full moon lunar eclipse in each sign means. So for Pisces, This full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your first house of self. So this is a time where the spotlight is on you, where that you may have a new self emerging. And if you look back to not only the new moon in Pisces from this year around your birthday in February or March, but also back to when this eclipse season started back in March of 2015, there were some new things that began there that are maybe coming to fruition for you, or maybe coming to illumination. A new self, a new you, because this is the house of self and identity. And this is actually almost complete. This is the second to last full moon in this eclipse cycle. And that will be finishing up in February of 2017. But now is sort of like a real aha moment. It's a time when you get to shine forth. It's a time when the new you gets to emerge, as well as letting go of a recognition of and letting go of any shadow stuff that is from the past, especially emotional, subconscious shadow stuff that you want to let go of. This is sort of like the snake shedding its old skin, and the new snake is coming forward and leaving that old skin behind. That's really the energy of this Pisces Virgo axis, as well as where can you integrate new day-to-day habits that allow the new self to shine, to be complete, to come to fruition, to come to light. So that's what's happening for you, Pisces, during this full moon lunar eclipse. And also focus on relationships too. Moon is always emotionally based. So it's shining a light on what is lacking in your relationships. Where is shadow stuff coming out? Where is there room for improvement? Where do you want to bring more light to, is what a good question would be for this Pisces Virgo axis. So for Aries, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 12th house. And your 12th house, it has to do with dreams, has to do with access to the subconscious, has to do with what's behind the hidden veil. This could be a very powerful time for you, Aries, in terms of getting illumination through your dreams. 12th house, because it's unconscious, it's a lot to do with dream work, a lot to do with mysticism, a lot to do with the occult, things that are hidden, spirituality. It's really shining a light on your spiritual world, as well as what are the shadow aspects of your spirituality. Are there ways in which your day-to-day routines are not supporting that? It might be a real focus on what information from your dreams especially can illuminate, can bring more completion, more fruition, more reality to your spiritual practice, or have insights towards your consciousness, towards your higher self, towards your idealized self. And how can you integrate that? Or where is it falling short from integrating it from your day-to-day life, your day-to-day practices? Some of you may want to develop a spiritual practice like yoga, like prayer, like meditation, like ritual, whatever it is that you respond to, or whatever it is that is your methodology. You may need to, this lunar eclipse may be illuminating both your spiritual practice and what's missing from it, and where you may want to integrate day-to-day practice to what you are interested in, what you want to connect with. If you present yourself as being spiritual, but your words, Virgo, aren't in accordance with your being or your action, this will help illuminate that. Or if you want something that will support information, if you're looking for things that are access to what's behind the hidden veil to help you develop with your spirituality, this is a good time to do that. For Taurus, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 11th house of friends, of community, of science, of innovation, and of genius. So for some of you, you may get the completion of an idea that you've been working on for the past 6 months. You may get the final puzzle piece. You may get that aha moment of, oh, here's the practical work that I need to do. This is what's been missing. This is what you're seeing behind the sun to see this is what's been missing, and I finally get to complete it. It may be a time for some of you that shines a light on what's missing from some of your friendships. You know, whatever it is on a practical daily level that you need to do to get this sort of fulfilled, satisfying emotional basis with your friendships. There may be some of you that have friends eclipsed out of your life at this time, and there may be some of you that have declarations, you know, new friends showing up. It's basically showing Pisces is a very watery, emotional sign. And so with the full moon here, it's really identifying your emotional connection within your society, within your friendships, and also to a degree within science or any projects that you may be working on that have to do with information. So can go a couple different ways because it's Aquarius based. It may have to do with your allowance of freedom in your relationships. Do you, because it's illuminating the shadow, do you have any issues with I don't know, how do I say it? Possessivity? That's not the right word. With possessiveness. Because that's the shadow side that Aquarius loves freedom. And with your friends, and Taurus can sometimes be possessive. The Taurus-Scorpio axis has the most challenge with that. Not to say that anyone else doesn't, but do you allow freedoms within your friendships? Do you, is there a way that you need to allow more of that? Or are there more things having to do with your friendships that you want to fulfill, that you want to make it more spiritual, that you want to, have sort of a greater light shone on it? Is there a way that you want to, some of you may actually be experiencing this full moon in Pisces where you're experiencing a lot of spiritual fulfillment with your friends. That may be the effect of this full moon lunar eclipse, but it's bringing up shadow stuff related to your emotions in regards to your friends. And it also may show, in terms of science, or freedom, it may show shadow things related to that. So hidden information, things that prevent freedom, things that are hampering that. Those are all featured aspects for you with this full moon lunar eclipse in the 11th house. So that's for you, Taurus. For Gemini, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 10th house of career. So first question that comes up for me with that is, it's illuminating your career. It's saying it's spotlights on your career. So it's either that you may be shining forth in terms of your career. You may be getting wonderful reputation, status. Great time to ask for a promotion, by the way. Great time to have a review, because not only is it illuminating you, spotlight, but it's also showing the areas that you could improve upon in a very practical Virgo-based kind of way. So if some of you work for yourselves, you may want to take stock or assessment of who you've become, as well as some areas that you could improve in. For some of you, it may culminate that you are completing, that this job, this way of life, this career has fulfilled you spiritually as much as it's going to in the spiritual world, and therefore it is done. Or it may wrap up in February 2017 when these eclipse seasons finish up. This final eclipse, the final eclipse in this Pisces Virgo axis completes. Or it may be that you have this strong urge to finally fulfill something that you started back in March 2015 or February, March of this year, that you're finally getting some success, some accolades, some recognition regarding projects that you've worked on that long ago. And it's emotional fulfillment that you're getting regarding your career. You may also look at how relationships function in supporting your career, your reputation, your status, all of those things, Gemini. So enjoy the focus on your place in the world, your title, your works, your accomplishments. That's all being featured for you right now. And then as well as shadow stuff that may tell you where you can even fine tune it to achieve or go in the direction that you want to even more. So for Cancer, this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces is happening in your 9th house, and that's the house of philosophy, higher learning, travel, publishing, outer communication. So this is the traditional house of Sagittarius. So there may be something that's completing there in terms of higher learning. You may have achieved a level of higher learning if any of you have taken courses or been exploring a certain subject of study. This full moon lunar eclipse may give you some illumination in terms of sort of unifying it and integrating it. In terms of travel, you may finally be able to accomplish traveling somewhere that you've been wanting to travel to. The logistical side of it may come to a head, you may get the last puzzle piece that allows you to go forward, or you may, because full moons are emotionally based, you may actually come to a realization, an epiphany, an aha moment that maybe you don't really want to go there. That's because this is shadow stuff that the full moon illuminates. So it may mean that some of you are changing religions. So this is also the house, 9th house. So it's philosophy, higher learning, knowledge, travel, outer expression and experience. So some of you either may be going deeper in, have greater revelations in terms of your religion, your ways of belief, or you may be changing it. You may be seeing the shadow aspects or sides that is normally behind the surface that you don't see, that you don't have access to, that's usually obscured out of the way. You may be having a direct vision and seeing how it affects you on a common, regular, mundane, day-to-day level. Are these two integrated is what that access, or are they what this axis asks, or are they in polarity? Are they in opposition? Another question that may arise with this full moon lunar eclipse is, how is my higher learning affecting my day-to-day life? Is my day-to-day life reflective of lessons I've learned, classes I've taken, higher learning that I've gained over the years, or not? And because this is emotionally based, full moons are always emotions, and Cancer, you're a water sign as well, so you have an emotional approach to things. You are ruled by an emotional element, which is water. So there may be things going on for you in regards to your emotions, in the framing of higher learning, of philosophy, of religion, of wanting to explore further, wanting to figuratively travel into new areas of that. So that's what 9th house. It's also featuring too, if you, Cancer, have published anything or released anything out into the world, there's a real spotlight on it right now. 9th house is also the house of publishing. So there could be something that you have published or, given out to the world, outer expression, but it may also help you illuminate and see right now any shadow aspects of that. Anything that, even though it's a spotlight's being shown on it, you've got this sort of illumination, completion, fulfillment, fruition. You may have access to seeing any shadow elements of that, what's missing. So for Leo, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 8th house of the hidden, of the occult. This is normally ruled by Scorpio, so it's the house of sex, death, and taxes. Things that are normally in shadow can come to light. And this is doubly happening for you, Leo, because not only is it in your 8th house, which is the shadow house, but it's happening with a lunar eclipse. So right now, Leo, is a fantastic time for you to look into things that are happening on a subconscious level for you. Things that are happening under the surface, especially related to your emotions. It's a great time to pull up and pull out or examine any things that are in your subconscious emotional world. It's a great time to explore how your subconscious plays a part in your relationships. Do you have any hidden dynamics that go on in terms of relationships, or your emotions regarding relationships? Are there hidden agendas. That's shadow energy for the 8th house. Are there secrets? You may either be holding back secrets or discovering secrets that someone else had. That's hidden information. Does your spiritual world coincide with the practical way that you act day to day, routines, habits? Is that in alignment? It's showing up hidden information. So be careful, because things that are hidden could be revealed during this full moon lunar eclipse, especially in the 8th house. If you want to discover a secret, now is a very good time to ask about it, because this is like the light is bending around what is normally seen, and all the shadow stuff is becoming available and to be seen. It's also to be released. So if there's ever a time where you wanted to put your conscious mind aside and look at what are some of the primary drives that drive you, because 8th house is Pluto stuff, it's underworld, it's hidden stuff. If there's ever any time that you have wanted to release and purge emotional energies, especially having a practical way to do that, now is a great time to do that, Leo. It's really featured for you, especially in regards to relationships. Let's see, we've got for Virgo, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 7th house of partnership. So not only is this a lunar eclipse, which is focused on relationships in general and your emotions, but for you, it's happening directly in your house of partnerships. So there may be something that you see, the shadow aspect regarding your partners, whether it's your romantic partner, whether it's a business partner, whether it's friends or family. You see the shadow side of the other right now. And it also may be illuminating how you show up in relationships. It may be it may be identifying either how you discover opposition or integration in your relationships. When you come across someone that you recognize as other, polarity, different, almost as opposite as you can, do you complement with them? Do you bring your strengths and then allow their strengths? Or does it become like, two ram's heads fighting? Does it become an ego battle? So it's a good time to look into your feelings regarding that, as well as any shadow aspects of yourself or the other that come into play when relationship happens, Virgo. That's what this full moon lunar eclipse is illuminating, and especially regarding your feelings regarding all of that. Pisces wants to dissolve things, and Virgo wants to keep things in order. So it's asking, how well have you integrated controlling things or letting things go? Having order or being able to tolerate disorder, unification. So that's what's going on for you, Virgo. It's regarding relationships, your feelings, and even subconscious feelings that may be coming up. For Libra, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 6th house of health, of day-to-day routines, schedules, habits, everything that Virgo normally rules. So this full moon, it's going to illuminate any shadow aspects about how you feel regarding your day-to-day actions, especially how they regard your health, how they influence your relationships, any habits that you might have. You might see some shadow habits illuminated here regarding how you act within relationships or how you approach them. That's full moon lunar eclipse energy. It may also shine a light on how you feel about your health, how you feel about things that you do day to day, your relationships, how you interact, how you behave. That's all lunar eclipse, full moon energy in Pisces. Pisces is about water. It's about dissolution of the self. So Libra, you're a very relationship-based person. So this full moon lunar eclipse is going to ask you to evaluate your habits, your routines, your daily schedules, your health. How does your health play out in your relationships? How's your relationship health? What are your daily functions that you do? Or do you do day-to-day things that support your relationships? Do you do day-to-day things that support your health? That's all going to be featured for you, Libra, during this full moon in Pisces lunar eclipse. For Scorpio, this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces is happening in your 5th house of true love, of romance, of children, and of creativity. So for some of you, this is going to be the completion and the fulfillment of a creative project that you started back in the spring, say February, March. This may be wrapping up. You may be seeing the spotlight on it, as well as you may be seeing some shadow elements of it, what is missing from it. Some of you may have a critical eye for anything that you produce right now. You may be seeing shadow aspects of your partner, or your children, or it could be that true love shows up for you. That's featured. That's the light is shining on that right now in your 5th house. So romance may be just unfolding for you. That's full moon in your 5th house energy. But you also might be illuminating and seeing what's missing from that. What is in the shadow? What is lacking? What could use more illumination in that area? So it could be, for some of you, a focus on parenting, you know, highlighting your, that's usually more 4th house stuff. It's usually more about your kids. So if some of you have been looking to get pregnant or adopt a kid or have a kid come into your life, full moon will show you that, or it may show the shadow aspect of what's missing from that. It's the light is going in that direction, Scorpio. So that's what's going on with 5th house energy. It's also like spotlight is on you. This is the natural placement for Leo. So some of you may be up on stage. It may be a time, Scorpio, where you're being put on stage. A spotlight is being put on you for your creative expressions, your creative issuances. For Sagittarius, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, of parents, both you being a parent or your own parents. It's the house of nesting. It's the house where Cancer normally presides over. So it's a real house of nurturing. It's a house of sentimentality, of going into the past. Sometimes it can be focused on family, but it's a real focus on the home. So Sag, some of you may be having your home illuminated right now, as well as shadow aspects of your home, like the lack of it, or what you would like to change about it, what you want more, like what's going on with your home is what, and how do you feel about it? How does relationship play into that right now, Sagittarius? So there's day-to-day practicalities, Virgo, that are in opposition. It could be in unification, but how do your day-to-day activities support your home and where you consider to be home? The phrase that's coming to mind right now, Sag, is home is where the heart is, and that's what's being illuminated here. The full moon is shining its light in your 4th house, home, family, nesting, nurturing. That's being illuminated. That's what's up for review for you. But there's also shadow aspects of like what's missing, what's wrong with that, what needs to be added, what needs to be strengthened, questions, especially regarding your emotions, regarding your home. So that's what's going on for you, Sag. For Capricorn, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your 3rd house of communication. So there's a real spotlight right now on the way that you communicate. And it has an emotional basis because Pisces is a water sign and full moons have to do with the emotions. So this, for me, is to saying to you, with how you communicate, which is Virgo energy, words, details, is that in support of your communication? A spotlight is being shown on the way that you communicate right now, Capricorn. And because it's a lunar eclipse, it's showing the shadow of that. Like, do you want to use different words? Do you want to use different tone? Do you know, how you communicate right now is where the light is shining, as well as maybe anything that is missing or lacking or need any shadow aspects of how you communicate is showing up. So now could be a really great time to adjust or let go of an old way of communicating or allow a new way of communicating in. Some of you may be doing public speaking with the full moon lunar eclipse in your third house. Or you may discover that you love public speaking, that you want to launch a radio channel, that you want to publish something, anything that has to do with communications right now, whether it be with your friends, with your family, with the outer world in any way. Consider right now, Capricorn, how language serves you, because that's Virgo energy. Using precise words, using language, whether you're argumentative or whether you use nonviolent communication, that's all up for review right now. That's all full moon energy. So the way that you speak, the way that you talk, is throat chakra energy. How do you talk? How do you communicate? What form does it take? Are you writing something? How do you express yourself? Do you express yourself in a way that your day-to-day life lines up with? And what are the shadow aspects of the way that you may be seeing some shadow aspects of the way that you communicate that you're ready to release? That's what full moon lunar eclipse is about, and how you feel about the way that you communicate, especially in your relationships. So for Aquarius, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in your second house of possessions, assets, things you own, things that belong to you. So interestingly, because this is an emotionally based aspect, it's highlighting what you own, what your emotions are, and does your practical day-to-day life support your idealized spiritual life? And is there any shadow aspect to that? So what you believe that you own, what you believe that is yours, what you believe in, especially in terms of material things or your relationships, things that you can say, I have this. Are there ways that maybe if you're holding on to something that you're ready to let it go, or letting go, eclipsing out any words, any practical day-to-day habits, I'll say, that you're seeing the shadow aspects of and are ready to let go of. The Pisces Virgo axis has to do with health and service. So this is habits, day-to-day, things that we do, routines, words, all like little details, all schedules. That's all Virgo energy. Pisces energy has to do with letting things go, with letting things dissolve. Everything unifies, everything becomes one. It's sort of like what's up in the spiritual world, and this is what's down here on earth. So are there shadow aspects of what you own, what earth energy that is blocking your spirituality? Is this too much a preoccupation with money? Is this like feelings that, does your feelings center around things you own as defining you? That's earth energy versus water energy. Do you have too much stuff, is what full moon lunar eclipse can say, because it's a focus on too much earth energy in your water energy. Is there a way that stuff, earth energy, is blocking your heart, water energy? So that's things that you own. Is there a way that like holding on to something is blocking relationships with your family, or relationships with your spouse or your significant other, or with your lover? Is there a focus on material, on possessions, money, assets? That's going to illuminate here in the second house, and it's going to show the shadow aspect of it. So if there's any kind of physical objects or possessions or money that is standing in between you and someone else, this axis is going to illuminate it. Or on the other hand, have you stricken a happy balance between how you view assets, possessions, and how your spiritual life shows up, how your relationships and your spirituality are in tandem, are in harmony, are in integration, are in union with that? There may be something that is illuminated that's coming to a completion, coming to fruition. You may be like finally paying off the house through your good habits here. Or it may be illuminating the shadow habits. I always spend too much money, and therefore it's illuminating my lack of possessions. All that kind of stuff is going on, and it's also in particular relation to your relationships. How does my relationship with money affect my relationships with others, with people? How does my relationship with money show what I've accumulated from my day-to-day habits, from my practical paying bills, crossing T's, meeting deadlines? That's all Virgo stuff. How does it show up? What are the shadows? What's being illuminated in your second house of possessions, assets, material wealth, things of ownership and value? So it could also be for you, Aquarius, asking what is of value. So, and then what have you been valuing? What's in the shadow? What is in lack that's been valued? And what do you want to have the light shining upon? What do you want to let go of in terms of what you have valued? And what do you want to celebrate and come to completion, come to wholeness, come to illumination with? So that is my reading for everyone. I hope you enjoyed it for this full moon lunar eclipse. If you did like it, feel free to give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to share it with anyone, you can feel free to share the video there. And also you can subscribe if you haven't already, and you'll get notifications of my new videos when they come out. And as always, I'd just like to thank everyone for watching. Yours in the stars.